Hello, at this time, we're going to resume our program for the evening. And we're also going to recognize several student leaders who have made a substantial impact on the BLSA and NDLS communities. I will introduce the awards, and we're going to invite Dean Cole up on stage to present the awards. First, we will present the Dwight King Community Service Award. This award honors a BLSA member who has demonstrated an ongoing commitment to BLSA through an outstanding dedication of time, effort, and energy to the organization and the broader law school community. This year's recipient is Jamal Wilson. Jamal has remained committed to BLSA, serving as our Alumni Relations and Professional Development Chair this year. In this capacity, Jamal has spearheaded several initiatives, including our expungement clinic and OCI panels. Thank you, Jamal. Next, we will present the Dean Circle Award. This award honors a first-year law student in the BLSA community who continuously displays exceptional leadership, teamwork, and initiative. This year's recipient is Shideya, Parrilla. Shideya has served as a 1L representative this year, supporting numerous initiatives. Notably, she developed our first BLSA Day of Solidarity in recognition of those who lost their lives to police brutality and injustice. Thank you, Shideya. Our final student award of the evening is the Community Advancement Award. This award honors a BLSA member who has demonstrated a deep commitment to advancing the goals and mission of BLSA, both within the law school and the broader African-American community. Monica Bell, former BLSA president and unofficial president emeritus, has consistently dedicated her time and efforts to this organization. She has been a mentor for our 1Ls and 2Ls, a constant support for our executive board, and a stellar example of everything that a BLSA student should be. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Dean Cole. At this time, we will present alumni awards, so please receive Joshua Mannery, current admissions liaison, to present the first alumni award.
Correction, I will be doing faculty and staff first. So these awards are given to members of the NDLS community, faculty or staff, who have or continue to demonstrate an exemplary commitment to the success of this organization. Recipients, I will recognize you, but you don't have to join me on stage until I finish your full introduction. I don't want you standing longer than you have to. So the first is a full circle moment for me. Last year, I received an award named after this individual for my devotion to BLSA and the NDLS community. This year, I am proud to be presenting the first Staff Appreciation Award to someone whose commitment to this organization needs no explanation. Everyone, please join me in a round of applause for Dwight B. King, Jr. You don't have to come on stage yet, Dwight. You don't have to come on stage yet. I have much more to say about you. Dwight King joined the NDLS community in 1986 as a research librarian. He very soon embedded himself into the ND family, becoming head of research services in 1990 and teaching legal research to first-year students year after year. For BLSA, he was a pillar of community in a time where resources were not as abundant as they are now, a time when Black students were still carving out identity throughout the law school. Plenty of alumni will speak about the positive influence Dwight had as a legal research professor, how his patience and geniality made simple a pretty challenging topic. But that's only half of the story. Dwight invested much of his time and effort into this organization as a faculty advisor, as you heard last night. But taking it a step further, the Kings had a tradition. Dwight, his wife, and his children opened their homes to members of BLSA for years, creating opportunities to not only bond and fellowship, but reinforcing the concept of the Notre Dame Law School family itself. And let me tell you, if Dwight ever invites you into his home for dinner, you better take it. He grilled bratwurst for a few 3Os last year, and I was lucky enough to tag along, and they were delicious, for lack of better words. But more importantly, the reverence and respect the graduating class had for him was heartwarming. Dwight, you have genuinely impacted the journeys of countless BLSA students, and for that, we want to say thank you. You may have retired, but your impact on BLSA will live on forever. Please come to accept your award. Our second Staff Appreciation Award goes to someone I like to refer to as NDLS's organizational bedrock. She has tirelessly served as a resource of support for the 30-plus clubs within the law school, particularly BLSA. You see, BLSA is, as the kids would say nowadays, on the come up. Merchandise is rolling in, programming is thriving. We're even showing up and showing out at regional and national BLSA conferences. Behind the scenes, though, this person has cultivated much of the infrastructure enabling this growth. Please join me in recognizing our second recipient, Kiley. And I have more to say. I could have been clearer about this, I'm sorry. I have so much to say about you all. I just didn't want to talk anonymously. I'm not good at it. Anne is a recent hire of Notre Dame Law, joining the Student Services Office in 2020 as a coordinator. Pretty much any aspect of the student org experience flows through her role. Travel, reimbursements, listservs, fundraising, event planning, all of it. As my SBA advisor, I know firsthand just how much we ask of her alone. With BLSA's momentum only continuing to trend upward, I can only imagine how much she has on her plate being a resource for this organization, on top of everything else she does. But somehow she finds a way, and she does so without hesitation. And your hard work is seen, and it is appreciated. You assist BLSA in navigating the complexities of functioning as a student organization, and for that, we are so thankful. We ask that you accept this token of our gratitude for all that you do for us and the NDLS community. Please join me on stage for your award. Now, Shideya will come and actually give the Alumni Awards, so thank you, Shideya.
Hello, everyone. I apologize. I will not be as funny as Joshua. I'm just going to let you know. Tonight I will be presenting the Rebecca B. Ward Distinguished Alumni Appreciation Award. The Rebecca B. Ward Appreciation Award was established in honor of Miss Rebecca Ward, a former staff member of Notre Dame Law School, who was dedicated to not just the broader law school community, but specifically to the BLSA family. Miss Rebecca was more than a staff member. She was a mother figure, a confidant, an encourager, a comforter, and a prayer warrior. She exemplified consistency and service. Mrs. Adreanne Stuckey of the class of 2014 was selected for this award today in recognition of her persistent commitment to the BLSA community amidst her varying responsibilities as a new mother, wife, and a successful lawyer. Mrs. Stuckey has gone above and beyond to connect with our current community and to expand our network through her own by, for instance, bringing her husband's firm to participate in our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Including You networking program. Mrs. Stuckey is unable to join us today, but wanted to express her gratitude in the following remarks, in which she references a photo that we can't show you, but I'm going to describe, that was taken this past Alumni Weekend in the fall with members of our community and her budding family, including her daughter, Isla. There are lots of smiling faces, everyone's wearing green, and the community is exuding joy. Mrs. Stuckey writes, I would just like to thank Notre Dame BLSA for this wonderful award in Rebecca Ward's honor. It is such a privilege to be associated with Mrs. Rebecca, as she took care of us during our time at ND. BLSA always has a special place in my heart, and can't wait to celebrate with you all another 50 years. The joy exuded in this picture, you can pretend it's here, captures my sentiments for BLSA, and Isla can't wait to come back. Go Irish. Let's give a round of applause for Mrs. Adreanne Stuckey.
Hi again. I have the honor of giving the remarks for the Alvin McKenna Alumnus of the Year Award, named for Notre Dame Law School's first African-American graduate, which is presented to a graduate who distinguishes themselves within the legal community while continuing to support the Notre Dame Black Law Students Association's programs and activities. The recipient also furthers the Black Law Students Association's illustrious legacy through demonstrated commitment to scholarship, community service, and leadership. This year's honoree, Natalie Wight, graduated from Notre Dame Law School in 2003 after receiving her master's in biology from California State University in 2000 and her baccalaureate from the College of Idaho in 1996. Shortly after graduating, Natalie joined the United States Department of Justice through the Attorney General's Honors Program in 2003 as an attorney for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Ms. Wight then served as an assistant U.S. attorney in the San Francisco office of the Northern District of California from 2008 to 2012. In that capacity, she focused on criminal and civil forfeiture related to drug trafficking, white-collar fraud, child pornography, and environmental crimes. Natalie then joined the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Oregon in 2012, serving as the deputy chief of the Organized and Violent Crime Section of the Criminal Division, where she focused on child exploitation, human trafficking, kidnapping, Indian country, robberies, assaults, and other violent crime. She has also served as an assistant U.S. attorney in the office's civil division, defending the United States in civil suits, torts, civil rights, torts, medical malpractice, employment law, and prison litigation cases. On June 6, 2022, Natalie was nominated by President Joseph Biden to serve as the United States Attorney for the District of Oregon. The U.S. Senate confirmed her on September 9, 2022. Despite her numerous professional accomplishments, Natalie has remained committed to service, coaching the mock trial team over the past 10 years for her alma mater, Cleveland High School in Portland, and serving as a professor with our intensive trial advocacy program here at Notre Dame Law School on numerous occasions. We are so excited and honored to have Natalie with us this evening as our 2023 recipient of the Alvin McKenna Alumnus of the Year Award. Without further ado, Natalie Wight.
Thank you so much. Did everyone know that I was actually going to give a little talk? Yeah. Okay, all right. I don't think you guys realize how awesome this is. This is 20 years ago from when I graduated from Notre Dame, and BLSA has come so far. This is awesome. I think we did literally start maybe at Dwight's living room. And then one of our last BLSA weekends was in half of the cafeteria. And so to see this today, I just have in awe. I mean, Max, this is fantastic. Can we please just give Max a round of applause? I promise to keep this very short. Monica, thank you so much for that fabulous introduction. It is so wonderful to be here. Jakeem, Max, thank you for prepping me, sending me all the questions, getting me ready for tonight. Dean Cole, thank you so much for your welcoming. This environment is fabulous. It's so lovely to meet your wife tonight and share stories about our kids who are home alone without us today. 16 and 15, I'm sure it's fine. It's cool, right? No problem. It's a huge honor also to be recognized tonight with Dwight. He has been such an influence and role model and just an inspiration to everyone who's come through these doors. So Dwight, it's wonderful seeing you tonight. And then to the whole BLSA family, and Rudy, I got you. The whole BLSA family, this is such a big honor for me. I've been so excited. Casey knows how excited I've been to get here. And for those of you who don't know, Casey Noakes is my husband. He's also a Notre Dame law alum, 2005. But you may also recognize him. He's one of the superstar adjunct professors for intensive trial ad. So that's the one where you're throwing down for like 7-8 hours a day for trial ad. So it's a fantastic class if you haven't taken it yet. Casey and I have been together for 26 plus years. So 26 years plus 2 teenage boys later, we've been on a pretty wonderful journey so far. And one of the most recent adventures that we had was the family decision for me to apply to be the United States Attorney of the District of Oregon. I know that there's probably a few of you in here that are actually deeply familiar with what the U.S. Attorney's Office does, but there's probably still a few of you, maybe a few of you, still figuring out all these layers of jurisdiction for the government legal process. So the very short version is this. The U.S. Attorney's Office, we're responsible for charging the federal crimes, but we're also responsible for defending the United States and federal agencies in those civil cases. And we're also responsible for helping to collect the debts that are owed to the federal government. And these U.S. attorneys, they serve at the pleasure of the president, but the one thing a lot of people don't know about the U.S. attorneys is that once you serve, you actually can't go back and be a regular attorney back in the district and office that you worked at before. So for me, that was the biggest factor I had to think about. As you heard, I've worked for the Department of Justice for 20 years, an honors attorney since 2003. I've had 6 duty stations across this country from Washington, D.C. to Honolulu, Hawaii. I've been in my home state of Oregon now for 12 years. I have only ever been an attorney for the Department of Justice, and I absolutely love this job and the mission that the Department of Justice stands for. So these were some pretty heavy things to think about as I was making this decision to apply. But there was also one more really important decision, and that's the fact that I'm a planner. I like to have a life plan. I like to have an agenda. I like to have an itinerary. I like to have a table of contents and lists. I'm not the most fun at parties or on road trips, but I definitely, this whole U.S. attorney gig to me seemed like just this unplanned journey that was just fraught with surprises. So applying to be U.S. attorney was definitely not on my to-do list. So it came actually as a surprise when that thought started to creep up on me. And that happened in an unplanned, unexpected event on late one night in 2021. So in 2021, at that time, I was the chief of violent crime in Portland, Oregon at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And in 2021, some of you may remember, Portland, Oregon, Portland Federal Courthouse specifically, was at the epicenter of civil unrest and endless violence. In fact, there were 100 consecutive nights that there was violence directed at the Portland Federal Courthouse. The damage was so extensive that the courthouse in Portland is still the only courthouse in this country that is still fenced in and boarded up to this day. So during those 2020 and 2021 riots in front of my courthouse, we experienced nightly arson, we experienced Molotov cocktails, and then there was this growing lack of trust that was spreading throughout my community. Portland was having record homicides, record meaning quadrupled from what it had been just years before. Oregon, drug overdoses, fentanyl overdoses were skyrocketing. And all of this was on top of the fact that we were still in the middle of the COVID crisis. My family watched me during these 2 tumultuous years, and as violent crime chief, I would have to spend the night in that courthouse so that I was there to address the criminal conduct that had just happened the night before. The attorneys and the staff on my violent crime crew were beyond exhausted, 100 consecutive days. Portland, Oregon is my hometown. It is where I was born, it's where I was raised, it's where my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in, it's where my family is. I literally was watching my city dying in front of my eyes. It was absolutely heartbreaking. So for months, we watched this violence occur outside of my courthouse, literally outside of the windows. But we were also able to watch it on some of these live streams. I know I'm old and this is new, but there is these live streams videos that some of the rioters and some of the protesters would have on their cell phones or videos attached, and so we could actually watch live stream video that was uploaded to the internet as it was occurring. And one night, we were watching this live stream video, and there were 2 people arguing. And those 2 people were arguing, and you actually see in the background the fires burning in front of the courthouse. And those 2 people who were arguing were from 2 very different groups. One person was from our peaceful protester group, usually the folks who were there during the daytime, and then when the evening came, they went home. But then the other person that was there that day was from what we would call like our anarchist crowd. And they were having a very intense discussion, and this was live stream video. And as they're going back and forth, and they're vehemently disagreeing about what the most pressing social cause was, what the appropriate way to advance those causes, there was one thing that they both agreed on. And that one thing was that they had no idea who actually worked inside of that building that was being firebombed, that was graffitied as far as they could reach with hate speech. They didn't know who worked there, and it was clear that neither of them cared. That building was my courthouse. Those were my people inside. The federal court system is actually pretty small in each city, and sometimes the courthouse likes to refer to themselves as a courthouse family. And security had already sent out an email to the whole office, to the whole courthouse, saying that any court employee had to remove their badge before they left to go out on the streets of Portland, because it made them a target. It made them unsafe in their own city. But the Portland courthouse, it doesn't house the police. It doesn't house the FBI. It doesn't even house any political offices. Most of the people who work in that courthouse are law clerks, judges, courthouse staff, librarians, attorneys. Everyone in that courthouse is a public servant, and they've dedicated their lives to helping the Oregon community. It was that moment, watching that video, that I knew I had to do something more. So this thought started to creep up on me, and I started thinking, maybe I could be the face of this office. Maybe I could be the voice of the department in Oregon. Maybe I could be this bridge that our city so desperately needed between the law enforcement community that I had worked so closely with for 20 years and my neighborhood community that I grew up in. So for 20 years, I'd worked for the Department of Justice. I had never once thought about being a United States attorney. I already had my dream job. I had never thought about it once. So when this thought was creeping up on me, I tried to dismiss it right away, but it lingered. And in the next following days, I started to feel this weight, almost like an urgency, that maybe it was time I needed to make this change and start a new path. So I'm sure Casey remembers this moment when I sat down with him and I said, babe, I think I need to be the next U.S. attorney. And he said, I know, love, I know. So long story short, and sparing you all the really terrible details of the 18-month process of applying to be U.S. attorney, here I am. Does that look all right? Does that look right? It was a very long, lengthy process, but the day that my chief judge swore me in, I got to raise my hand in front of Casey, in front of our boys, and in front of that courthouse family, and I got to recite the oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to faithfully and dutifully complete the duties of my office. But you know what? That was the same exact oath I took 20 years ago in the supply closet, my first day of Department of Justice. It's the same oath that every single federal employee takes when they're starting their public service. It is something that unites us. It's something that inspires us. And it's a commitment that we've made to protect and to care for the people and the communities in this country. Thank you. Oh, I'm taking a seat. Now the hard part. Max sent me like 3 pages of questions for this, so take it easy. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you for letting me be here. I'm so excited to chat with you. So honored to be up here with you as well. So you've already shared a bit with us about just your story and your career. So we're also a little curious to hear about your Notre Dame Law School journey. How did you end up at Notre Dame Law? What brought you there and your experience there?
I love hearing everybody's different Notre Dame Law story. I just heard Kat's tonight. And everyone has one, right? Mine was a little bit different, and I started out as a science nerd. I never knew a lawyer. There were no lawyers in my family. I never thought about law school. No one ever, suggested it to me. And so when I was in my graduate program, I had 2 different jobs. I worked as a human physiology instructor, and I also worked as a rare plant scientist. And that rare plant scientist job was actually pretty cool. What we did was actually wander around. We would cruise around Northern California, and we would actually get to, find the local plants, describe them. It was very calming, except for when the wild boars would approach, or the rattlesnakes, or the other serious dangers of that job. But how this turns into a law story is there was, at the end of that summer, we had the job to survey 3 different sites for a new reservoir in Northern California, because even back then, 20 years ago, there was water issues. But still, we were out there and we were trying to find the next reservoir site. So we were with soil scientists, archaeologists, the rare plant nerds, and we were really trying to decide which was the best location. So when we were ready, we took our information, we went to the board, we did this big presentation, we came in, and we made a recommendation. And I kind of thought that was it. I was like, here we go, well, get digging, get ready, right? But then we walked out, and then this other group walked in. These other people, and we were like, oh, what's that? And they're gonna make their own presentation, this other group. And this other group, they were all wearing suits. We were wearing cargo pants and backpack. I think I had a shovel in my backpack that day. So we weren't sure what was going on. And then when they came out, we were told probably, 20 minutes later, that the board decided to go with the other group. And I was like, I don't remember seeing them out there hiking 10 miles a day. I don't think that they were out there with us. And so I said, who are these guys? And they're like, oh, those are the environmental lawyers. And I was like, lawyers? What is happening? So it was that day. I came home, and my boyfriend back then, I told him, I said, I need to figure out how to get to law school. And that was the first I ever thought about it. I said, wouldn't it be cool if someone was a lawyer and they wouldn't have made that presentation, but they also had the background that I had in the science field, and those two things were brought together. So I actually started that day looking around for law schools and applied to several different law schools, but in the end, Casey and I stepped on Notre Dame campus, and as Kat just said today, the rest is history. It was the perfect fit.
So what was that experience there like for you while you were there?
When I first came,
Yeah, at Notre Dame.
well, when I did choose Notre Dame, it was because I was looking for something more traditional. I really wanted a strong foundation in my legal skill set. I knew that I would get it here, and it had, it really focused on the basics. You were supposed to be a good lawyer first, and I knew that afterwards I could go specialize in whatever I wanted to do. In fact, I actually called the EPA before I picked my law school, because I visited all 10, and there were other schools that give me more money. But I also said, I said, EPA, I probably want to come work for you. What do I do? And I said, there's a few good schools in Vermont, even in Oregon, that specialize in environmental law. Do I go there? And they said, well, where else did you get it? And they said, oh, you need to go to Notre Dame. That's the best school. You're going to become the best lawyer there. You can always come and be a specialized lawyer later. So I followed that advice. And I mean, the campus was just, it was safe and comforting, and it was just a perfect place to study.
So as a minority, was there anything that you experienced that you weren't expecting? Was the experience kind of parallel? Were you prepared for it, would you say? And did you ever experience any imposter syndrome while at Notre Dame Law School?
When I first got here, I mean, the faculty and the entire campus was very welcoming. I never felt like I was treated any different than any of my fellow students. But I also was, I think they called us non-traditional students, right? I was older, I was 25, right? Very experienced, a lot of life experience. And so, I was non-traditional, I had a grad degree, so I was ready. So I really thought that I was prepared for law school when I got here. And I'd had a lot of successes in my life already. I was pretty confident. But the truth is, and I don't know if I've told this story to many people, not many people ask me this question, but I had a very serious life-changing moment my first day at Notre Dame Law School. So when I got here, the very first day at Notre Dame Law School, the 1Ls all get together at like the student orientation. I think that you guys probably still do that, right? And back then in the old law school, you young people, that's what it was like. You literally walked into the student lounge, and it was sort of like this sunken living room type environment, right? It was, like real cozy. There were flags hanging all around the outside from every, undergrad university that everyone went to. It literally was magical. It was before Harry Potter, but it was totally Harry Potter. So I was so excited to start this totally new chapter of my life. And I got there and I sort of gravitated towards a small group, and we were all talking, and it was very cool to learn that we were from all over the place. Oregon, Texas, California, North Carolina, Germany, Thailand. It was such a diverse group, and it was just cool that Notre Dame really tries to do outreach and recruit from people from everywhere. And so we were talking, we were kind of getting ready for the orientation, and then there was another group of students right by us, and they were also getting to know each other and talking. And I actually overheard that other group talking, and they said, wow, there sure are a lot of tokens this year. Yeah. And so me, Miss Oblivious, and in my excitement and my literal science mind, I turned to my other friends and say, hey, I think we're supposed to pick up some tokens somewhere, right? Those guys just, and they were like, what are you talking about? And they literally were like, and I said, yeah, they just said there are a lot of tokens here. And I just said this to this group that I just met, very diverse group. In fact, dear friends that were also with me forever. And they said, they're talking about us. And I could see my friend Michelle Johnson, who was a dear friend and was at school for us forever. That was my first experience at Notre Dame. And I could see in their faces how dejected they looked, and they were upset. So I didn't get upset. I got pissed. And I leaned into my new group of friends, and I said, F those guys. They don't get to tell us whether or not we belong here. And I made that decision that day, in that weird moment of my life, that I wasn't gonna let anybody else project on me how I needed to feel, whether it was some sort of inferiority complex or imposter syndrome. Only I get to control that. I'd lived a very merit-based life as a soccer player, and, my graduate degree. Those things are kind of, you gotta do it on your own. If you're not doing it on your own, you're out, doesn't matter. And I decided that day that law school did not have to be any different. And I've carried that through me with my whole career. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing that story with
It was
us.
hard.
It's really amazing that you were able to come to that mindset in that moment, and then not only do that, but carry it on just throughout your entire career.
Very stubborn.
Great quality for a lawyer. So you mentioned BLSA, and we are here for a BLSA event. So what was your experience with the Black Law Students Association like while you were here at Notre Dame?
BLSA is family, and everybody knows that. It's automatic support system. Rudy is my senior. He was already there, and it's not just BLSA, it's how they connect with all the different groups, the minority groups and the non-minority groups. We would have dinners with the Environmental Law Society. And BLSA was sort of the champions of all outreach and bringing everyone together, and I love that about BLSA. But their biggest thing is mentoring. I always felt like that was priority number one for BLSA. It was the 3 Ls and 2 Ls teaching you about professors, about the classes, and the most important lesson I ever learned in law school was from a BLSA 3L, when they talked to me about your outlines and how you had to master them and how it had to be you. You had to do your own. You had to understand and master that subject matter yourself. And that was the only way to survive law school. You can't do the sharing thing. This is not like undergrad. And I took that to heart. And I truly did try and digest that information the whole time through law school. And that was something just right out of the gates that BLSA 3Ls did. And then we tried to, and I told Casey, it wasn't just paying it forward. It wasn't out of duty. We did it out of a sense of community through BLSA. And just to keep the continuity of that family going on, to turn it into what it is today, which is amazing. So.
Great. So many tidbits. I hope people are taking notes. So kind of along the lines of what you were saying then with the mentorship, what did your participation in the mentorship programs within BLSA or outside of BLSA look like at Notre Dame?
For that point, it was mostly study groups, activities. We tried to get involved in everything, and we also encouraged people to get involved in other areas and other groups. I mean, I was part of Public Interest Law Forum. We did a lot in rec sports, because it's Notre Dame, right? So you gotta do that. But we wanted to encourage people to really foster the career paths. And so one thing that BLSA led me to was working for the Notre Dame admissions office. So at a very early stage, they came to me, and it was something I was so proud of back then. And we talked very openly about my diverse background, my mixed race background, my graduate degree, all these different things that kind of made me what they told me were special. And they allowed me to go with them and participate at these law school conferences, the Black Law School conferences, the big LSAC conference. And for me, that was such a sense of pride that Notre Dame would adopt me like that so early on and allow me to be a representative for the school. And I still continue, even as an attorney, with my current job as DOJ, going to those Black Law student conferences. There was a big national conference in Portland several years ago. So.
Wow. I think we just sent a group of students to one recently, too. I think they had a good time, from what I saw. So, switching gears a little bit, I wanted to talk to you about the intersectionality of both being Black and being a woman. And so it's a challenging pursuit to be a woman in law, but also obviously you're also a racial and ethnic minority there as well. So we'd love to hear anything you have to say about that.
It's been real. I've had this brown skin, I've been a woman for my entire life. But I feel like, in Oregon, I'm the first Black female United States attorney. And that is, thank you. All right, so, it does feel like a huge accomplishment in Oregon, not just to me, to my community. And Casey and I were just talking about this, at first I was kind of juggling it a little bit because for a long time, I've worked so hard for what I've gotten. I've climbed every rung in the Department of Justice, every job you could have. I definitely didn't even skip a step. It felt like nothing was handed to me. So this was not something, that just happened. And so a lot of the articles that came out when I first became U.S. Attorney, guess what they said, right? Black female U.S. Attorney, big head, there's my photo, there's photo. And you better believe that that's where a lot of people stop reading, right? People are like, oh, I don't need to read any further. I know why she just got U.S. Attorney. I mean, that is a very real thing. And so for me, I found it very difficult because a lot of the articles wanted to celebrate, but at the same time, articles would totally focus on that and not talk about the merits of my work. And for me, that was very frustrating. And so I needed to have a balance. And I learned to reframe the narrative so that when I was now doing media, I controlled the narrative, and so that it spoke to both sides of who I am, both that who I am as a person, as a Black female, and then who I am as a lawyer. And that conversation always has to come in pairs. And so, I talked to that. It was a very difficult beginning until we went to our first mock trial class when I became U.S. Attorney. Because our school is very diverse. It's a city school, a mixed group, a lot of strong young women with big dreams. And I walked into the group, and they had my face on a giant, school overhead, thing. And these kids were just like screaming, like, oh my God, where's that? And that was the first time I was like, oh, this is what this is about. Like, this is why it's important. It's for these future, strong, young minority women who are like, I can do that. They were so excited. And I think that was a place where I really first got to enjoy that moment.
On that same note then, and you might have answered this, but if you have anything else to add, how do you use or leverage your position as a U.S. Attorney to serve the broader Black community?
So it's not really leveraging, right? But it is different, right? I have a different perspective now, being the boss out there. And we already, first priority, I'm bringing in new attorneys doing civil rights cases, both criminal and civil. Those cases are really important. They protect housing access, and they also protect against violent crimes based on discrimination. So I'm trying to get new attorneys to do that. There's a different conversation now happening at the hiring table and at the recruitment table. At the manager's table, we now talk about diversity, equity, inclusion as a regular part of our conversation. So that has changed incredibly. But that's how I work at the office with my work side of my life. In my personal side of my life, and I know just talking to the dean's wife today kind of hit me in a soft spot, but I spent the last 8 years working with the Reentry Drug Court in Portland, which is a very interesting program where the people, they've already done their time, fed time, and they are now on supervision trying to make it right, trying to get back into the community, trying to get back off drugs. And these people are working so hard to actually succeed. And I'm part of a team that involves judges, federal defenders, my office. We have probation officers, counselors, mental health counselors, and we all work together. We all have one goal, and it's help these people to succeed. But my heart with that group is with the ladies. And so the Fed defender and I are very close. She's one of my closest friends. And we created a special program just for the women in that group, and almost all of them are single minority mothers. And they are fighting to get their custody rights back after serving their time in prison. And those women work hard. So every Friday night now, we have a time and a space for them, and they come, they talk to us, they tell us what's going on in their lives. This has been going on since 2020, every Friday night. So that tells you what my life is on Friday night. The Fed defender and I, we just don't have anything else going on. Sorry, babe. But we meet with these ladies, and it's a place for us to vent just women, because sometimes when you're in reentry court and you're with the dudes, it's just not the right place to talk about everything. And it's a safe space, and they can tell us what they need, whether it's mental health needs, some drug treatment needs, if they need to detox. But mostly, it's about basic needs. Most of the time, they need a blanket or laundry detergent. Something so simple that changes the course of their life. And that is something at some point when my career ends and I don't get to come back to the office, I absolutely already know what I want to do with my time. So it was nice hearing what you're doing. So
That's absolutely amazing, and it's so cool to hear. I do have one more question for you. I could talk to you all night. But
I know, we could
y'all
chat.
don't want to be here all night.
it's getting late.
So, just returning to something you said earlier, you talked a bit about reframing the narrative and reshaping the narrative when it goes in a direction that it's not supposed to. So, what are ways that we as current law students can do that when we face those issues? And then also, if you have anything you want to leave the room with, what profound words of wisdom that you haven't already shared do you have for us?
I have endless profound, if people know I'm the master of unsolicited advice, that's for sure. I love working with students. That is what we do every day. The only students who don't listen to us are those two teenagers home alone tonight. And but I actually supervise the law clerks at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I just like fostering that growth in the students and the excitement that everyone has as you guys are just embarking on those first jobs, the first career. We can't all be like Rudy, who opens up his own shingle and has been running his own business since day one, right? But my advice is always the same to these students. I've worked with so many different types of students from all different backgrounds, and a lot of them don't find that dream job, the first job, right? So as you're trying to find that job and you're looking for your passion, and it's not always like the perfect match the first time, it's important though that you still go all in. You are Notre Dame graduates, right? You guys are going to be the next leaders. Notre Dame graduates are leaders. So you need to get in there and go all in. Every moment of that job is a learning moment. Soak it in, volunteer for every task. Don't be above some task, everything. Take it all in, be the hardest worker in the office, especially if you know you don't love that job, right? Make it so that they do love you. So when it does come time that you decide it's time to move on, if they love you, they're going to support you. They should support you, and they're going to get you to where you need to go next. And if they don't support you after you've been working so hard there for a year or whatever it's been, then you're making the right decision, and it is time to move on because that's not the right place. So when you get there, all in. That's my advice to them all the time. I had a few students every once in a while who, they didn't like the job, they kind of just mailed it in, and that's just not the right attitude. It's definitely not the right attitude for Notre Dame grads. So I just make sure, that's my one advice to everyone sort of looking at that new job. So thank you so much for listening. You guys appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Monica. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Can we get one more round of applause for Natalie and Monica? Thank you. Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I know everyone's come from different places. We've even had alumni travel all across the country to be here, so thank you. Also want to thank our photographer and our service workers as well for being here today. My name is Javante Lipsy. I serve as a director of regional development here at Notre Dame. No, I'm not here to ask anybody for any money today. But I have the honor and the privilege of serving Al McKenna as one of his trusted philanthropic advisors. And I would like to take a moment to talk about Al McKenna and the impact he's had here at Notre Dame. Al is a graduate of the Notre Dame Law School, class of 1966. He is the first African-American law student to graduate from Our Lady's University. In the state of Ohio, Al has had a substantial career in the matters of trial and appellate litigation, with most of his work involving federal judicial system, labor, and employment matters. He was named among the best lawyers in Columbus and recognized as a super lawyer there, and was also recognized as one of the best lawyers in America. Al has lectured and given seminar presentations and training programs nationally in the areas of federal practice and procedure, federal litigation, general civil litigation, labor law, employment law, and law firm management and economic topics. Al's impact extends well beyond his career success. Through purposeful acts and consistent extensions of generosity, he has helped the next generation of law students afford the cost of law school education here. And we know it costs money. So, Al's giving to help support the needs of Notre Dame students actually dates back 45 years. He has given consistently even at his earlier stages in his career. In 1988, Al created the McKenna Family Fellowship, which has provided financial support for many students over the years. He has also been a contributor to 5 other fellowships here at Notre Dame, including the Law Fellowship Fund, the Francis Gregory Law Fellowship, the Nell Jessup Newton Law Fellowship, Kiley Law Fellowship, and the Williams Lark Malaya Fellowship, and has also contributed to the Student Emergency Relief Fund. When speaking to Al about why he gives, he kept his answer very simple, yet it was unforgettable for me. He wants to help the next generation of African American students afford a world-class education here at Notre Dame. Al has continued to pour into the hearts and the minds of the next generation of our students here at Notre Dame by devoting a considerable amount of time, energy, and attention to both BLSA and the Notre Dame community at large. Al was the first Black student to serve as a staff member of the Notre Dame Law Review and was a senior staff member for the Journal as well. He was appointed by the president of Notre Dame to serve as a member of the Law School Advisory Council. We are internally grateful that Al has been such an unwavering force for good here at Notre Dame and in the world. As a way of honoring Al for his continued involvement and his generosity, and to remind Notre Dame community each and every day who Al is and what he has done for Notre Dame, we present this newly created Alvin and McKenna Alumnus of the Year plaque. The Alvin McKenna Alumnus of the Year Award was actually created 22 years ago in 2001. Al was the first recipient of it during the 2001 BLSA Alumni Weekend reunion. The plaque honors everything that Al stands for and continues to support the Black community here at Notre Dame. It names every person who has received the award, including the most recent recipient of this evening, U.S. Attorney Natalie Wight. Unfortunately, Al is unable to join us for this banquet this evening. I know he's here in spirit, but he will be here in person in the fall for his annual visit to campus for the Advisory Council annual meeting. At that time, this plaque will be presented to Al formally, and then it will be erected in the law school where it will remain as a reminder of the continuing legacy of Black excellence here at the Notre Dame Law School. Let us continue to be a force for good in the world and to give generously in the ways that we are able, and to thank those such as Al who've made it possible for many of us to pursue our dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Javante. I do this every year. I'm just so blown away by this room. It is so hard to be a Black student in a predominantly white space, and to have alumni who come back every single year to support students and to show them what they can be means so much. The fact that we are at our 50th reunion, 50 years of Black excellence, more than 50 years, because Al McKenna was a student way before that. I don't know what to say. I'm just so happy to see how big this room is, how filled up every single table is, how beautiful everyone looks tonight. This is my 10-year anniversary as a graduate from the law school. I graduated in 2013. And when I graduated, I left with a very keen understanding of how important BLSA was for me, how seminal it was in making sure that I graduated, that I was able to feel like I had a community and people who cared about me. I knew then, leaving to pursue a career in law, that this was a community that mattered to me so much, but I don't think I had anticipated at all how important that community would be when I came back to be the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Because the BLSA here is my family. They are the reason that I love this job more than anything else. It's a weird position to be in, to be their advisor, their alumni, but also kind of their friend. You know, I'm like Big Brother Max, Uncle Max or something. Like, I don't even know where it is. But we have a relationship that steps so far beyond what it means to be a staff member and a student. There's something here that is so intangible, so beyond words, and it's the thing that we all share in this room. It's the binding agent between us. And so what I'm really here to say is the start of that for me, realizing the importance of BLSA for me in this role, came with the graduating 3Ls, because they were the ones who introduced me in this new role to this space. And it's hard to say goodbye, but I'm so excited because I know what stands on the other side for them. All of you know, because we've all done it. And it wasn't easy, and it isn't going to be easy, but they are the best people, the most well-positioned BLSA to go and take the reins of leadership, to continue this legacy of Black excellence that we have at Notre Dame Law School. Can we just give a round of applause for the graduating 3Ls? Stand up and be recognized if you're in the room. Some people are shy and some people are in the bathroom. I do want to call attention specifically to Monica Bell, who y'all have had a little bit of an opportunity to get to know her this evening. You did a great job with this fireside. Monica was one of the people who Dean Cole charged with interviewing me for this job. We met way before I actually got back to campus, and I remember at that moment I thought to myself, I like you. You're cool people. And she told me this in confidence. She was like, I hope he gets the job. And so to think now that, you know, it's only a year and a half, but the time seems like forever, that Monica's graduating, that she's going on to do amazing things. I know you're gonna do amazing things. I just wanna say thank you. It's true that we've had the BLSA reunion for 50 years, but it wasn't always easy. And there were times where we didn't have the support, we didn't have the resources, and the alumni felt alienated, and we didn't have people coming back as much. And when Monica and I worked together, we worked so hard to bring people back here last year. And it wouldn't have happened without her. And the fact that we have the room that we have today, we have an incredible executive board that made this happen, but they're only here because of the work that Monica put in. And so I want to say thank you to Monica and invite her up to receive a gift. Jakeem, could you help me? You don't have to go around.
Y'all did this to me twice now. That's crazy. I don't have to say anything, right?
Say something. You're right here. Come on. Say something.
Gosh.
Say something.
I had no idea that this was happening. I thought I was done with all this, but I mean, like everybody said, BLSA is really my family. This organization means so much to me. Each and every one of you in this room, even the 3Ls who are somewhere but not here. I don't know where they all went. But thank you all for coming. Thank you for all the nice things you had to say about me. I'm sorry I don't have more to say. I really thought I was done. But yes, this is an incredible honor, and I'm very happy to be here. And I'm glad everything worked out.
And so with that, as we move towards the end of our evening, we are passing the torch in more ways than one. And so I'm gonna invite Jakeem Aaron back up to the stage to present to you the incoming executive board for the Black Law Students Association.
It's funny because Monica self-identifies as shy, so she's like pinching me under the table as we're giving her all of these accolades. But yes, I am going to, at this time, formally announce the new executive board for this upcoming academic year. Please come to the stage once your name has been called. Our new secretary will be Caitlin Bowe. Our new treasurer will be Antonio Jean Denis. Our new vice president will be Luam Gabriel Saleh. And our new president will be Ayana Murphy. And at this time, Ayana will say a few words.
Yes, you will.
Ayana, come to the mic, love.
I'm gonna project for you. Okay. So we're gonna keep this short and sweet. Good evening. My name is Ayana Murphy, and on behalf of Luam, Antonio, and Caitlin, and myself, we would like to thank you all for entrusting us to represent BLSA as the upcoming e-board. We are so excited to be here tonight in the presence of such Black excellence. We look forward to collaborating with all of you moving forward. And at this time, we want to say thank you to the alumni for all of your support for the past and all the years to come. We're so grateful for everything you guys do for us. We also want to tell you guys that we have so much in store. We can't wait for you to see what we're working on. Like, we've already been talking about it. We're like, oh my gosh, guys, we have so many plans. So we want you guys to see that. We want you to know we're passionate about this. We're so grateful and appreciative for everyone in this room. Seeing what you guys are doing and like what you guys represent is what we want to do. We're so passionate about this. We want to say thank you for this opportunity. I am so happy that this is my team. We look forward to working with you, and we want to say thank you, especially to you guys. You know, Monica, that's my mentor, so love her to bits. But we want to say thank you so much to the 22 and 23 e-board as well, because you guys have laid an amazing foundation. We can't wait to build on that and move forward to that. So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to represent you all, and we look forward to serving our community. Thank you so much.
I truly am so proud of all of you all. I'm so excited for all the work that you all are going to do. So as we near the end of our program, I just want to say a few thank yous. This is the only part of the evening that I do not have notes for, because I think the strongest thing that I feel is just overwhelming gratitude to so many people in this room. So of course, to start, I have to start with Dean Cole. We appreciate you so much. Please give him a hand. As our BLSA is approaching 50 students, I feel so grateful to have a dean in place that understands that curating a diverse student body is bigger than just numbers. It's bigger than recruitment, but it's actually curating an inclusive environment. And that's something that Dean Cole has taken extremely seriously, specifically as it relates to the BLSA. So again, please give him one more hand. Of course, as has been said throughout this evening, I have to appreciate Max Gaston, our faculty advisor, our advisor. I'll say, of course, we've discussed at length all the awesome things that he's done that are things like this, making events like this happen, some of the bigger, more high-profile things. But the amount of times I've gone to Max and just been like, I don't know what's going on. Whether it's personal, professional, or what have you, I've been able to lay my head on his desk literally and be like, I don't know how I'm going to get through today and see tomorrow, let alone next week. And the fact that he's always taken out the time for me to really just make sure that he, A, is holding space, and B, is making sure that I'm good as an individual, and then C, of course, make sure that BLSA is strong, is unmatched. And I know that the thing that makes Max special is just like I have that experience with him, so many other people in the BLSA also have that experience with him. So please give him another hand. As president, I truly do consider myself to be a project manager. So essentially, I say that my vision is just a framework, but I really want this, I wanted this organization to reflect our students and what our students needed. So that being said, my executive board is really what makes BLSA work. We've done almost 30 programs to date this year, and it's purely because of my executive board. So if you are an e-board member this year, please stand up, and please give them a hand. Thank you for your sacrifice. It does not go unnoticed, and I truly do appreciate each and every one of you all. And finally, I want to appreciate everyone in this room. So many of you all, every year you come out, you support us, whether it's financially or whether it's with your presence. I see so many alumni here that make it a point to come every year and make sure that they're actually connecting with our students and mentoring our students. And that's really what this 50 years is about. So please give yourselves a hand. And with that, that does conclude our program this evening. So again, thank you all for coming out. Here's to another 50 years. Thank you. Good evening.